Hello and welcome to this video. We just finished the campaign with my MercMonk. Now, this is actually mine. I was fed up with all the trash bait builds that couldn't actually pass Act 2/3. So I decided to just make my own. Pathing, it's a bit of a mess, but we are strength stacking. I did try to even it out slightly, but strength is the dominant one. I'll probably will repath, but I'll probably repath and maybe just go more strength, because I was just building it as I went off just how I felt. So we obviously start as a merc. We're a Gemling Legionnaire, the first ascendancy and then the second ascendancy. And early on, this stuff is very powerful for survivability. You can, if you wish to, go this way and just go attributes, but I find a little bit armor, ES, all that, anything you can get depending on your class helps a lot early. You can respec it if you feel like you're not getting enough out of it. So depending on where you are on the tree, for whichever class, it is important to think about going armor, ES, or evasion, which we have. Then regen, very powerful early on, especially the 40% increase flask life recovery. That helps a lot early. Then we just ignore everything else, go zoom all the way down. We pick up the 10% increased attributes before we head up this way. Any jewels or anything you pick up, just slot in if they got anything to do with a bonus. We can always swap them out later, but don't take this just yet. Save this part of the tree until later. I'll probably respec out of these and add them elsewhere, because I don't feel like they give me as much as I'd like. The 2% for every 5 at the moment, that's intelligence. So we have probably 40% increased. I might be able to actually find that somewhere else in the tree, or a better source of damage or survival. But we just path up here, ignoring everything. The one node you do want to take is this. By the middle to end of Act 3, you pretty much must have this if you want to progress fairly well, because the power charges instead of frenzy charges we get through the skill gem I'll show, but that is a very important keystone to get. So whether you path up here, come in here, or if you feel like it, you can just shortcut up through here and take it. This, while I was doing it, this was going to be along here, and then up to all this lightning stuff and chain and all that, because I was going to add in other skills. We are just using Tempest Fury, Tempest Bell, Charge Staff, and the Staggering Palm. But we do have leftover power charges, which we can use other skills that possibly do chain. But obviously the increased shock and all that is what we would take for sure. This one we are going for magnitude, and then we're going to take some crit there, some crit here. There's some crit over here too, here. So we got plenty of sources. There's more lightning res pen and chance for double shock and damage. So we are packed with lightning here, but I did rerun Dorian Act 6 and ran it with Ice Strike, and you can do it with Ice Strike with this setup. So you add in more towards that cold side and you do a lot better, obviously, but with this setup you can run Dorian with Ice Strike instead. It's not my sort of thing, but early on Ice Strike is what you're going to probably use, and we'll get into some of the early skills. But that's the passive tree at the moment. Obviously the pathing is a bit weird, but as I said, I'll probably work out how I can get the most out of it with the minimal passive points. Now, I do have this equipped just to show the difference. This is pretty much important. First exalt you get, or whatever, you buy this Pillar of the Caged Gods, or if you're going into it, buy it and then use it from level 1. The other uniques is this. This is very good for strength and very powerful early, but it carries all the way through. And then the belt for the strength as well, and the cold resist is pretty nice, but this and this carry you from level 1, because it doesn't actually have a requirement level except for 10 dexterity, which the Mercenary starts with. And so if you pretty much got to obviously go Merc or Monk if you want to start with that, because I think 7 dexterity is some of the others. The gear is not anything, but armor evasion is not ideal but is acceptable. The ideal is evasion ES, because the armor ES, if you start trying to stack too much of the armor, it doesn't work very well. Whereas the evasion, you either go evasion ES, or if you have to, armor ES, armor evasion, because the evasion is what we're actually surviving on. It is very powerful when you want to go through the campaign. Armor is obviously very nice, but to get it at high levels to be able to tank some things is not very good. Combat Frenzy is what we get to get our frenzy charges, which then we convert into power charges. So this is what we take when we got the keystone, and then I have the profusion, and I'm running vitality at the moment with it, just as an extra sort of defensive layer. Staggering palm, I have culling strike and ricochet. Ricochet don't think does anything. I was trying different gems and swapping them around, and I don't think it actually works with it, but you can socket it in, so I figured I'd try it out. The culling strike I don't necessarily use as much as you would think, because we do a lot of damage, but the higher you get, or the bigger gap you got between your rare and uniques, it comes in handy when you just don't feel like doing it anymore and you may be low mana. You just staggering palm them in the face and kill them. You can have the other one, which is the culling strike one. You can run that instead, but staggering them does help us in the fight as well. Wind Dancer, very, very, very important, and it's why we run evasion. We are running Wind Wave and Overpower with it. Herald of Ice we start with once we get our spirit, and then we swap out of it as soon as we can't run it with Combat Frenzy and Wind Dancer, because we run these two together. We drop the Herald of Ice and then pick it back up in Act 6. Or if you got gear that gives you spirit, pick it up whenever you can fit it back in. Now, we're going to start with Glacial Cascade. That's going to be with Tempest Spell until we unlock Ice Strike, and then we unlock Tempest Fury. Either one you want, you can use. Ice Strike's very powerful. Tempest Fury is very powerful. As you can see, it's down a level because I did corrupt it, but I want 3. I just ran it with that. At the end of the campaign, I actually went to Elva and brought a bunch of the lesser jewels so I can make some more 4 link, so that's why that's lowered. It doesn't matter, I beat the Act 3 boss with the level 5 Tempest Fury, because I thought I'd leveled it, but I hadn't. Charge staff. This is very important. Charging your staff at all times will increase your ability to actually complete the campaign. We have persistence, primal armament, and perpetual charge going with it, and tempest, rage, martial tempo, and electrocute on Tempest Fury, concentrated effect, abundance, and innovate for the Tempest Bell. If you want to have a look at this, I went through that. Magnified effect and cold mastery on Herald of Ice. Pretty much we're using 3 skills with the option of 4, and we're going through the campaign. I'll show examples now of, this is us Act 4, obviously the count. And as you can see, with everything we have the, obviously the 2 ascendancies and is phased, but it keeps up our Tempest Bell. I'll skip ahead. Clearing, it's not terrible. And then we get back to the second phase, and I'm out of the way. Yes, as you can see, I'm not really caring about the actual mechanics, and that's why I have staggering palm, not the killing palm, because getting the bosses out of their mechanic is very handy, I find. Another good example of the difference, this is Act 6 Viper. The other builds I tried couldn't even get past this, and a lot of the actual builds, one build, it was a leveling build that levels you to level 40, and you change halfway through Act 3. So as you can see, the Tempest Bell places itself weirdly, so I find rolling back and then placing it the best. Obviously we play a little mini game. This I wasn't too good at. But as you can see, wait. Yeah, it took us a while to get some damage on her, but once we got consistent damage, and done. And then that's with the light Tempest Fury. So we're pretty much just being able to ignore mechanics for the most part. If I follow the mechanics, I'd be able to do it a lot easier, but I didn't feel like it. This is Ice Strike. He blasts me with his beam there, but as you can see, the cold build-up is incredible. That's a very good thing for Ice Strike. You can freeze anything in pretty much 2 hits. Bosses in obviously a couple more, but as you can see, is no trouble at all, even with the Ice Strike, with the actual lightning based on the build. Then it did take us longer to kill him with this because it's not set up, but he ends up going down. So you can use both. I did it specifically so I could show both. So I could show both Ice Strike and Tempest Fury. So I reran him. He dropped a Exalt on that second time, so I'm happy. But yeah, the damage numbers is 2100. It's not over the top amazing or anything, so it's within normal parameters in my opinion. We didn't do anything weird and wonderful. The only problem is you do have to use this pillar of the cage guard because of the weapon damage multiplier. If we swap it over, you'll see 839 damage versus 2,147. Just purely because of that unique, it does help, and putting a flat damage in it helps as well. Adding flat damage on any of your gear possible. It obviously becomes harder the more you have to try and gear up to survive, but you're looking for flat damage if you can to actually increase the damage, because we've got the 10% increased, but it doesn't increase anything unless we actually got a flat number. Same as the attack speed and the area of effect. We need flat numbers somewhere on our build to be able to actually maximize that. And obviously for every 5 strength we get 10% of the actual damage. Resistances, I didn't finish the campaign with good resistances at all. Life, obviously being strength based and everything, and a Gemling Legionnaire, we got 2400, so we're a little higher than most builds probably are. Without having much on our gear, we do have a couple of bits with a decent amount of life. Yeah, 106 life there. We were rocking something with another 100 life, but if I'll show these gloves, it's got 140 life. I'll show you the power of the strength. 2,420, 0 life, just 12 strength. 140 life. We got 2,511. So we don't, the strength that's on this doesn't allow us to swap it over with a straight, okay, that's 140 extra life. Strength being double because we have this passive, and our damage, the bonus of that is actually you want high strength on your gear, and then you get double the health from it. So you get 50 strength on a gear, you'll end up with, I believe, if we look at the strength, every 1 strength is 2 life, so we get 4 life for every strength. So then we end up with a 50 strength pair of gloves. That then times it by 4 and gives us damage on top of that of another 10%, 10 times 10, so 100%, but gives us damage as well. So you can see the benefit of going strength over just flat life, because this actually increases our damage on top of increasing our life. So strength is very, very, very nice and very important, because you end up having to, if you go the life and you don't have the actual strength causing it, you then don't have the damage, so then you need something else grabbing that damage. If you got life and strength, that is a complete bonus, but go strength, flat damage, ideally the 1 type, but you can go whatever you're doing and cold, just to help that out. Getting the power charges for freezing is how we are doing it. So we do need some aspects of, so whenever you freeze, electrocute or pin, so we do get it through some freezing, we get it through electrocution, we obviously don't get it through pin. But if you go freeze and cold, you'll get it all the time. If you go a hybrid of the both, the chances of you building up both of the ailments and getting the bosses or the rares in a position where you can just drop the bell and go to town on them is even better. So I'll be changing up this passive tree. Not necessarily the essences of it. I might drop some of this, like the +1 power charge, and come over here to a +2 power charge with some crit bonuses if I've consumed one, because I'm constantly consuming them. So I might path over to there and take the 2 instead of the useless +20% increase energy shield, because it runs out by the time it's useful. And then the 5% chance that gain power charge and gain the maximum. I gain enough at the moment, so I don't think I'll need it unless I just want to boost the actual amount of power charges I want. So I might take this instead of that, but it'll be the same principle. Power charge equals damage. Pathing, I'll probably fix up and work out the optimal way on where I want to go. I might not even come down all the way down here. I might just take this little bit of star, but come across up here if it works out cheaper as far as passive points, because obviously the more passive points you put towards something that is beneficial. In this case, we do get benefit from pathing on the attribute nodes, but we would like to hit some of these more build defining bits, like the shock chances and the magnitudes and the just damage over just a multiplier. So that's how the passive tree probably will evolve, and hopefully go into maps, extend all that, change everything up, do more damage, and then work on the character for post campaign, because obviously this is a leveling character right this second, and we'll see if we can turn it into anything more than that. It is a fun build to play. Just remember, your damage is reliant on the weapon. More strength is good, and if you want to stay alive more, then obviously evasion is your go-to, and trying to get a high number of evasion armor, or evasion ES. But evasion is your primary goal as far as gearing up. But hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you try the build, and if you have, let me know what you think. But I'll catch you next time, and goodbye.